Hello there and welcome back to 80s Adventure. If you're new here, this is the steampunk world I've been building in survival for more than 3 years. And over time, this place has got absolutely huge. With giant airships galore, huge infrastructure projects, a cathedral, and even a 1,000,000-block cave that I dug out to create an Undercity. But I'm nowhere near done. This is my forever world, and I'm gonna keep building it until I stop playing the game, which basically means this thing's gonna go on forever. Last time I built the minigame Resonate, and had Vintage Beef as the first player to come and join me and play. But at the moment, this area is stuck a little bit in the middle of nowhere, and I need some way to integrate this into the rest of the city. And the way I'm going to start to do that is a huge new infrastructure project, connecting up the roads that already exist into this area, and also bringing a road through here and connecting up to some new custom terrain and builds over in this section. And that's going to make this whole thing look a little bit more cohesive. So I've been doing a little bit of planning in Creative, and with that it's time to kick off into a time lapse of the first project. And the infrastructure project is now complete. And what we've got is, first of all, a connection into this road. This runs from the refinery through to the section, the Hall of Champions, and the balloon up there. And this sweeps up this hill on quite a gradual gradient, just coming round this cliff. And once you get up here, it just gives a slightly different level change for the area. So we can build on this plateau here, we can build on this plateau, and it will link into some of the builds that we can get in the future, and probably one on this corner as well. Then we come over this little bridge. This is a bit more of a rickety bridge like we've got in the Amethystine Cave just over there. And this has got a section down beneath, which again will give an elevation change and allow for some builds to be tucked into this space. And I'm obviously going for various different levels of verticality. You've got the big bridge up here, you've got the bridge running through underneath the bridge, and then you've got the section down here with the cliffs in front of you where the elytra course comes round like so. And then as we follow this road round, it goes down and then back up again, and we've got this section that I've added in with some of the brickwork that will allow for some builds against this cliff. And that will then bridge the gap between these two levels. So we've got the level down here and we've got the level up on top that Resonate is on. And I may add something like a car elevator so that I can carry the road on, just to give some coherence. And then we get to this section. So I love this section. This is another bridge, similar but much smaller in scale to the one that we've got here. And this just changes the elevation again. I've let these new copper railings start to age, and you will guess that I am in 12110 based on the fact that I've got these copper bars now, and I'm gonna then come along at some point and just wax them all once it's got to a nice level of aging. But this gives a lovely view down onto this vista across to the cathedral, because I always wanted this view to stay uncovered really, so you can see right the way through onto the monorail, onto the bridge, and up to the cathedral with the airships above. But when I add some builds down here, it'll just give another bit of visual interest. This comes through onto another plinth that I've built, so this is going to have some builds on here. May extend this at some point over this way, and if we look down here, there's a perfect little tunnel bridge that we can use to bring the road through into this section at some point in the future as well. And then coming to this edge, we'll see that the road just snakes through underneath this section, coming around and coming up this hill for another way for us to connect just over here. Now I haven't added in any stairs yet, because there was a pavement that I brought to bring these two sections from a pedestrian perspective together, but I haven't put one here deliberately because I'm probably going to have either some stairs somewhere or a building that goes up multiple levels and allows you to get from one step to the next. And then finally, bringing us around, we just come down another sweeping path that takes us down round to the main nether portal and round into the dock area. So this then finishes off the connection. There's no road that goes through in this section, but there is the ability for vehicles to then traverse right the way through the base, all the way across round here, and right the way across in multiple different paths, which has been another theme of the season. Just trying to make sure that things are connected up in the way that a real town would be, because you don't often just get a single path to get between places. In a city or a town, there's normally multiple ways. And if I come up here onto one of the new sections of terrain that I've built right the way to the top, the highest point of this, it is a similar level to what we have over here with Resonate. And that again gives us some cohesiveness. It means that this doesn't just, pardon the pun, drop off a cliff down to this bottom level. It means that once we've got some stuff around here, and you can see that I've got my beacon just hidden underneath now, we will have some kind of parity between the levels. So when you're looking out here, you'll see across to the builds that we've got over there, but equally when you're on a different level, you'll just have a different plane and different lines of sight. So yeah, definitely love that. Also from last episode, some of you might have noticed the little spoiler that I threw in that nobody actually picked up on, of bringing in all of the members of Mindcrack into this space. So we've got Good there, we've got Ellie, we've got Dyer here, we've got Cone, various different people all the way through, Moo there, Brion. All of these guys were dotted around within the space, and yeah, I thought that was fitting when Beef came through. I think he recognised some of the people. But the other change that I've added in Resonate is I've just brought some of these creakings in. I've named them, and if you get too close, they will give you a bit of a love tap, but they will stay here forever. I've hidden where their creaking hearts are, so these guys will just be, and they've been named Creaky Blinders. These guys will just be here protecting the space. So yeah, that was just a little nod. I just finished that off. But yeah, just love how this has turned out. I'm really happy with it. And that means that I can move on to the next phase of the episode. And the next phase is actually doing a little bit of housekeeping around the base, because as you'll see behind me, because we've changed versions, a lot of the lightning rods have oxidized. And where that's cool for some sections, like on top of this machine probably, and maybe even here, other sections like this where I want them to connect 2 bits of copper, it's probably not so good. So I need to come along, chip away all of the oxidization, and wax these in the state that I want them so that they don't age anymore. Also, I've got a whole bunch of farms that are in fact overflowing, and this one in particular is a great example where I've got loads and loads of melon slices, and these come through and have completely clogged up the system, so much so that I can't even get all of the pumpkins through. Don't get me wrong, I've got loads and loads of stuff, but I hate losing things. So I'm going to use some crafters and overhaul this, because I've been doing some work with crafters on Minecraft, and actually try and make this a little bit more effective at getting me all of the resources, because using those resources on these guys will give me so many emeralds. Another example is over here in the little bamboo farm where I've got loads and loads of bamboo. There's absolutely no reason that I couldn't compact this down and give myself the bamboo blocks rather than this thing being constantly full. I mean, I have got bamboo when I want it, but there's so much more that I could get hold of. Pew, 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 pew. And the worst offender is this gold farm. It constantly, when I AFK, gets clogged up with rotten flesh. And the fact that I'm still getting nuggets in here rather than even gold ingots and gold blocks just means that I can't run this as long as I would like. These chests on both sides, they get filled up super quickly, and that means that I haven't really made the most of my piglin bartering setup, which now gives me dried ghasts as well. So that is going to be something that I'm going to want to use in the future. So it's time to start over here and take this apart and work out a better way to do this. And that's now done, and it took far longer than I was expecting. And part of that is because just under here there's actually a beacon, so I had to move that whole thing across, which then interfered slightly with our chicken-powered sculk farm, which is just down here. And so I had to fix the corner of that as well. But it's definitely worth it. We've got this now, and this is now picking up everything. I've taken out a block, but I'll need to replace that in a little bit. I've used some mud now as well, because blocks were getting caught on top. But mud is ever so slightly less than a full block, so it can be picked up in the hoppers. So that's reduced the amount of loss. but the main changes are down here. So I've lowered the floor in this section by 1 and moved these villagers down, and those are all now happy in place and ready to give me as many trades as I want. But down here I've got an extra level down as well, and that was to accommodate extra chests going down and the redstone, which I'll show you in a minute. But the net effect is that all of the melons are now being crafted here. These will fill up over time as this gets sorted, and with the backlog, some of these have already started filling up with all of the pumpkins. The redstone back here, however, this is what I had, which is just some basic sorting system. So I just had a basic sorting system on each of these with melons and pumpkins, the first 3 being pumpkins and then having melons here with the filters. And this is what I built on top of it. Now, I found this whilst I was looking for stuff for my Minecraft series for my iron farm over there, and it is just awesome. It's a 1-wide tileable precision autocrafter by a guy called Brandon Hennes, and I will link it in the description. It's definitely worth it because it's so cool. Anyway, what it does is it takes the signal strength of 7 here and it feeds it through the redstone through a comparator, reads that, uses this block here to power on and off, and that then powers this block, which uses the autocrafter. And then as soon as the autocrafter fills up with any of the chunks of melon like so, it drops one in the water stream, and the bit that I added was the water stream then goes round the back, pumps those up through a bubble column, and then brings them through the water here and drops them into these chests. So really pleased with this, and now on to the next of the jobs. And this farm is now updated too. So if I go in here and I press the button that we've got to manually activate this, you'll see the flying machine comes across and it knocks everything off and it goes into the floor again as it did before. But now there's no chest here. What's actually happening is that I've got a crafting system under here that's passing everything through, and then it's coming up and over into these chests and ending up down the bottom. So I'm getting all of my blocks of bamboo rather than the individual pieces of bamboo, which is miles better. And I've also added more chests, so this isn't going to fill up anytime soon. And then the final project as we round this corner has also been done, and I really like how this worked out because I was able to refine what I did with Dahl in the Minecraft server, and that is to add in some filters. So all of these are, if I come in here, filtering out the gold nuggets on each of these sides, which means that everything else, which is pretty much all of the rotten flesh, is coming into these droppers. And then I've got a whole bunch of observer clocks that when I switch everything on over here will first of all be really loud, but will also pump all of the items into the trash that I don't want. So get rid of all of the rotten flesh, because all of these chests are already rotten flesh. I've got more than I could ever need, because let's face it, it's pretty useless anyway. But that then crafts up all of the gold nuggets, and we've got loads and loads of these hoppers here coming in. So these will all fill up, as will these chests on each of these sections. So basically, yeah, I can AFK here and get all the gold and not need to worry about any of the rotten flesh or it filling up. Just turn that off because it was doing my head in. And another slightly noisy thing that is doing my head in is all of these happy ghasts that I've got floating around here. It's great to have the movement, but they are noisy, so I may need to download the data pack that means I can silence them. And yeah, there is a lot of them, so there's constant all the time. But I'm down here in the Undercity because this is going to be where the next bit of the project is going to be. So I've got this section here and I really love it, but it is a very big cave for very few builds. The next stage is going to come over this way and expand and kind of make it feel a bit more in keeping with what I want it to be, which is going over multiple levels and different height variations in here as well. Make this city and make this cave seem a little bit more full than it is now, apart from with these guys, of course. But in order to do that, I need to collect all of the resources that I'm going to need, and part of that is aging myself some of the new copper items, because now we have these lightning rods that change color. I have only got ones that are in this copper color, so I want to get some that have been aged for the build that's coming up. But luckily I have my copper aging machine. So now these have all been laid out and some of them are already with the random ticks starting to age. I can collect the rest of the resources that I'm going to need. And with all the items collected, the last thing that I need to do now that these have aged is harvest them. And this is going to look a little bit cursed because of the hitboxes on these things. And there we have it, 64 fully oxidized lightning rods. But now let's get building. And as the happy ghasts fly back and forth in front of me, the build is now complete. And I'm really happy with how this turned out, especially compared to the low level that we have over here. This looks amazing, but this just gives an extra bit of height. And even though I've only built on this bottom level, it gives me the scope in the future to fill out on top of these platforms and give the different height levels that I wanted to achieve in this cave, because I want to feel similar to above ground, like there is lots going on down here and it's really quite crowded. So to take a quick look inside, we have a little factory here. This one is powered by amethyst and amethystine and being controlled by this machine. I've used some of the new blocks like the copper chains here and these copper lamps, which are gorgeous. And I absolutely love how these bookshelves look like balustrades on this little raised mezzanine section. And up here we've just got a little base area with a bed and some other bits and pieces like the machines. And then coming up here we've got all of these interconnected sections as well, ready for the different height builds. And this little rickety staircase up to this platform. And this first platform, you can either come straight through here and go across to this other stone plinth, or you can head up and get up to this big platform here, which gives a lovely, lovely view. But even this view isn't as good as the one we get from up here, where you get a beautiful view down into the forest. And I've got just a different perspective on everything. So yeah, really, really like this. And we'll enjoy filling these out in the future. And the next thing I want to do is down here in the storage system, where I keep bringing the items from the boxes behind me, which is the overflow from the storage, over to these chests here. And I think this would be a much better task for some copper golems. So I'm going to do a little bit of remodeling around here and show you what I come out with. I've put some of the items in these chests and these little dudes are doing their thing now. And they're not doing it particularly quickly. They're spending pretty much as much time spinning as they are actually looking for items. But yeah, we'll leave them to it and see how they get on. I may take these guys out depending on if they actually do move anything from these chests into these chests, and whether or not they can reach all of them, because I think they can only go to 10 each. And the reason for the carpet was to try and keep them so they didn't recognize the other ones, but it doesn't seem to have worked. So we'll just see how it goes. I'll be honest with you, I don't think these guys are quite the solution I thought they would be. Oh dear. But on to the final thing for today, which is going to be another set of builds. And these builds are going to be just across in this section. And after a couple of hours collecting all of the varied resources that I'm going to need, because there's such a variety of these compared to a massive volume for the builds themselves, I've set out my work area over here by the build site, and it's time to get this made with the final time lapse of the episode. And now the builds are done, I've updated the maps, and there is a huge area that's impacted by all of these changes, including these builds, which I'll show you in a second. And as you can see from before to the after, there is a lot more going on in this area, and it kind of ties things into this section that previously was just a big open sandy space with a mountain stuck in the middle of nowhere. Now it feels a lot more integrated, which was exactly what I wanted. And of course the underground builds don't show on the maps at all, but they're there, I promise. And now on to the builds themselves. Firstly, we've got this really colourful truck that I wanted to bring in, just add a bit of contrast to the area. You can already see we've got some life in this build, certainly with some copper golems just milling round in there. But this one is going to be a bit of a power plant entrance for some of the builds that we've got here. So obviously we've had the slime that's being used as a power source throughout the other builds, and that's kind of what this one does. If I fly down here, we can just see that in here we've also got another theme, that we've got the turret legs being used there, to whether it be to power or to worship. I've added another detail as well, something that I quite like, which is having underneath these, if I take one of these off, we've got some redstone blocks here, and with the new shelves they just look really, really cool, particularly when you put some of these redstone lamps here as well. All right, little dude. And yeah, this is where the power comes in. I've been using some of the bright cabling because, again, it just stands out and makes everything more colourful in here, with just some sculpt for decoration. And this is a little bit minimal. This is of the builds. I mean, I may do some changes to this in the future, but we will see. So coming along this road and along this pavement, obviously we've got some more of our lampposts. And here you'll see a theme. We've got Siggles coming in here. We've got Jojo Solos. We've got Phoenix. This is a back entrance to Resonate, but also with some machinery in here as well. And you can see that because the Resonate pipe that helps to pump in all of the resin also goes into this factory as well. And this is just, I really, really like this design. It's a tiny little factory, but just a cool building. I might use more things similar to this to fill up little gaps where you've just got a little chimney here. And again, using these shelves is just amazing, particularly when you put some redstone blocks behind them. Just love these so much. And on the top as well, just around for some detailing around the actual top of the chimney stacks. Then we have, this was the main building, and this was the one that I mentioned that I may build before. We have here a platform to raise vehicles up and down. So as you'll see, it comes off the road here. I've added in some marks here for where the use would have been over the time. Lots of people milling around in here because this is an important place. Even some little copper golems up there. But if we come up to the top level itself, we can see that we've got this platform that then moves up and down and allows vehicles to traverse onto this top level and take them through into the different plateaus that we've got here. And again, from a lore point of view, I think this ties things together so much more. It's got a chunky chimney, it's obviously got a power plant to power itself, and you can just step down through this, which is really, really cool. And I've gone for quite a heavy duty piston setup, so it looks like this piston is pushing, and we've also got some pulleys to keep everything stable there. I could have built a vehicle on there, but building a vehicle on a 45-degree angle would have been a nightmare. And then with some decoration in here, we've got some of these copper golems. These were ones that I ended up transferring from inside because I hadn't waxed them on purpose. I wanted them to turn into some of the statues, so once they did, I was able to move these guys over. We've got some little seating areas again, of course, with some life and some people around. And then as we head up here, another little seating area for people to wait for their vehicle, because I guess that with this only being steampunk, it takes quite a while for this to go through the process. And I keep putting more golems here, but I don't know where they keep going. Honestly, I honestly have no idea. They keep disappearing. I had 3 on there at one point, but now there's only 1. So maybe they'll turn up somewhere. Maybe they're trapped somewhere. I have no clue. Maybe I've missed a block and they're just milling about underneath this plateau somewhere, but we'll see, we'll see. The other final detail that I've added is some of these new storage elements, which are, yeah, pretty cool. Just having some of the magma blocks inside and just having these as something that's a bit different from what we've had in the past before. And of course, this then will tie it into this long bridge section and anything that we build there in the future. But overall, I'm really happy with all of the builds today and how they've started to tie things together more into my vision. Hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, and leave some hype on the video as well. It's all appreciated and all helps YouTube, and I will see you next time on ADcraft.